Am I coming through okay, by the way? My internet's getting throttled by my ISP, so I don't know how well it's doing.
Because you haven't
What?
activated your 5G chip yet. But yes,
I
you're
can't-
coming through fine.
Oh, come on. I was going to screw with them for like 10 minutes.
Does my mic sound fine?
No, unfortunately, you sound normal, Spanky.
All right, cool.
Unfortunately, I only get the downsides to 5G and none of the positives. So my brain is melted, and I probably have super ball cancer. But unfortunately, my internet is still questionable.
Super ball cancer, isn't that like an anime?
Probably.
Like
Why
one
is
of
the
those...
Pepe emoji where he's cheering called Feels Pascal, man? Does anybody know the story on that one?
Feels Pascal? It's what happens when you feel like Pascal. He's always in a good mood, you know?
I guess. Kev, you don't sound like you're in a very public, loud place. What's going on?
Nah, no. I stayed home. Juana's raised his hand.
Which Juana?
That
Is
is it?
Juana. That's Davis.
If it's Batman, it's Davith.
Oh, it's Batman.
That's me inviting him to speak, and he declined it.
Based.
Truly. So my idea here was to get a panel of people to go review the wars with me. So if anybody from Blackwater or Oasis or Rose wants to jump in, now is your hour.
Tyrion's here.
I don't know if Tyrion wants to talk or not.
He's a good talker. Caden, I thought you were going to bed, buddy.
Oh, he did DM me. Okay, apparently Erico, is he in here? Eric of Catane. I shall invite him to speak. Oh, he instant declined it. There we go.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Thanks for having me. You're getting me about the last 3 minutes of my drive. That's why the instant decline is kind of clumsy thumbs you got there.
Oh, no worries. We're
Thanks
not going to start for another couple minutes anyway.
Perfect. That works out.
Is there enough time to make a drink?
Yeah.
Man, I'm hoping so.
I may have to remake mine. I think I got a little too excited.
Put too much water in the high C powder.
Exactly, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
High C's a name brand. You need to go like off brand.
Oh, my bad.
It's the green powder punch, something like that.
In the low D.
Thalmor, are you gonna represent Clock, or are you a neutral third party in this instance?
I guess I'm neutral because I don't know the politics. I fought in it though as a member of Clock.
It's gonna be a war review.
I can pretend to be lefty.
Okay, well.
Whoa, it's loud.
Who has their speakers on max volume?
I don't know. Yeah, if you guys
you
want...
can consider me part of Clock, I suppose.
All right, you heard it first. Thalmor sets every policy for Clock Block.
100% factual.
Yeah, there you go.
Alright, it's 5:30. Normally we'd play the theme song, but
Bryce
Kills
not gonna be
Bob
on
has
here?
informed me that the theme song is Kill. So unless Kev is gonna sing it live,
Which one are we doing here?
do you have more than one?
Oh, dude, I have so many songs.
We usually just do the Thalmor radio.
Oh,
Just
no,
stroke Thalmor's ego.
I'll spare everyone. I won't do it live. Unless you want me to. If you want me to, I will.
Zig sang it live once. It was a skippable experience.
I sung it actually as the outro last night when I did Thalmor Radio, but that recording isn't up yet.
Thalmor Radio. Ooh, ooh, ooh.
Oh, we did get
Thalmor
by.
Radio.
Nice.
Coming at you from the top. Oh, no. He won't stop. Thalmor Radio. Ooh, ooh, ooh. There you go.
I'll post you a dance.
Okay,
video.
does that count as the?
Usually
Does that
I
count
charge
as the
admission
intro
for that
community of this show now?
Thank you, David.
We should probably figure out who's echoing and fix that before we truly get into things.
It's a good call. Here, Thalmor, do a screech roll real quick.
Do a screech?
Yeah. Like pretend Biden is coming after your taxes and go.
Get the fuck out! I don't want to talk to you. I ain't signed no social contract.
Jesus.
Okay, I think it was the Eric guy, but he muted. So thank you.
Yeah, you're good. How's feedback now? Is it all right?
Thalmor's upset with Joe Biden. Yeah, it looks like it's fine. I'm not getting any feedback.
Wow.
Perfect. Okay.
I do appreciate the broken eardrums, Kev.
Oh, no problem. Why? Oh, you changed your thing again?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, just go back to George.
I like cycling through themes. Keeps things interesting.
All right. Well, without further ado, I guess we can dive right in to the show. So I got a couple of topics here to go through tonight. One, we're gonna do a hang on one second. I may have a special guest coming on.
Is it Requentin?
No, definitely not.
Well, then I'm not
All right,
interested.
so I have now several topics to cover. So one, war review, just kind of going over the last 18 globals that we've had in the span of 2 weeks, and get all y'all's opinions on how you think your spheres and the other spheres did in the war. Future speculation, quote unquote, basically me talking shit until somebody bites. And then we're gonna have a special guest on, actually. Mildly famous Veleny Voss is gonna jump on and explain to us why he jumped ship as the leader of the fighting pacifists and went to Rose. So that'll be exciting. And I guess I can go ahead and get this out of the way. The annual awards announcement, for anybody who cares, we're doing the PNW annual awards again.
On DNN.
On the plan right now is to do it on the actual main PNW server, but failing that, Ron has graciously volunteered to host. So it just really depends on if Alex and Rush can get their shit
But
together
we
or
haven't
not.
decided where it's going yet. We're gonna try and do the main one though.
Yeah. But there's an announcement up on the forums if you guys haven't seen it yet. We are taking player suggested categories this year. I think we're gonna do 4. Right, Vice?
Say that one more time. I'm sorry.
Are we doing 4 player suggested categories? Is that what we decided?
I don't know what the actual number is. I'm just.
It's in the announcement. Check the announcement for the information. Nominations will start in a week on the 10th. And yeah, shout out to Adrian for pulling this all together again, year after year, tirelessly. What do you guys think? Should we dive into the war review first, or would Velnivas's thing be more exciting?
I say war.
War? All right. So, just to dive on in, I guess. I'm gonna gloss over the Oasis Mink versus Blackwater and Clock war, and just kind of like establish what's been going on real quick. Since we already did a show on that, and it took about an hour. But Oasis Mystery Inc. signed a treaty, an MDP between their spheres on December 7th. 3 days later, December 11th, Oasis posts the 24-hour cancellation for that treaty after receiving just immense blowback from the entire community, basically. Literally 30 minutes after they post the cancellation, we get declarations of war from both Clock and Blackwater, with Syndicate and Cataclysm posting the two, I guess, main declarations, where they kind of lay out what's been going on and why. There was actually a little bit of controversy that I did want to
Friends
cover.
might
real
ride
quick.
together, die together.
Exactly. But I wanted to cover the controversies kind of quickly on this one, because I always think they're interesting. There was a thought that I saw a lot of people sharing around that Mink and Oasis had like an offensive blitz planned for the same night, and that the blitzes kicked off at the same time. I ran the numbers, meaning I went and counted with my fingers, and Syndicate and Kata both launched around 100 wars that night, not counting the after update wars. The Fighting Pacifists and Oasis combined launched about 50. So I don't know if that was their blitz, but I'm getting the feeling that maybe they didn't actually have a blitz all the way planned out. And then the second piece, the second big controversy, I guess, Wana from the Syndicate, not Davith, apparently was telling them that if they canceled the treaty, there would be no war. And then there was immediate war after the cancellation post. So I'm not really sure how that fell.
Wana
I don't
said they
ever
had
got an
30
answer.
minutes to do it. Wana said they had 30 minutes to do it, and they didn't get it done until like 3 hours later, is what was said. So he put on
Why did
terms.
he give
and
a timeline?
So he gave them a 30-minute timeline. But they
If he
posted
put a
it
timeline on it, you didn't tell anybody the timeline.
No,
I
they
saw
said
the
that
direct
they would have
log.
it done in 30 minutes, I think.
No, I mean I've seen the direct logs. There's no 30 minutes ever mentioned.
So
I'm
George,
just trying to give the side.
were you like involved in the de-escalation talks directly, or was it mostly like Oasis?
Indirectly, Oasis handled most of it, so I can really just go off what I've seen and heard. But I can tell you, I fucking can't stand Wana anymore after that. He was so disingenuous that it was ridiculous.
Damn, I wish I had a Blackwater person here. I mean, I got the
Wana
sense.
is literally here.
Who?
Wana.
No, that's not
That's
him.
Davith.
That's Zavith.
Oh. Okay. He's already come on the radio and talked about it though.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to like spend too much time on it. It's something we've covered before. Eric, do you have any thoughts on that?
On the Wana issue,
The timeline for peace.
I had heard. So obviously, I was 2IC at the time, not in the lead chair on that. I had heard that there was some discrepancy about timeline. You know what the actual minutes were, 30 versus 3 hours or something to that effect. I can't speak to the specifics on that, but I do know that there was a suggestion of a timeline from Wana. I know that there was an attempt to meet it, and I know that basically things derailed and went south at that point. And more or less the totality of my knowledge on it.
So, like in general, you guys would say Oasis and Mr. Ink felt a little misled by those talks.
I would go
Yeah.
way further than misled.
I can't. Again, I can't really say necessarily misled or what have you. I do know that there was raw feelings coming out of that. It definitely didn't go the direction that people were expecting it or wanting it to have gone. So yeah.
Hey, isn't Krampus in Blackwater? Could he talk to it?
He might. Well,
I
I
mean,
guess the clock. I mean, Kevin Thalmore, you guys are in clock. Do you guys have any thoughts on that? I don't know if clock was directly involved with de-escalation or not.
I mean, I just thought the whole thing was hilarious, personally. Like, I mean, the treaty being signed, it was going to end up being like originally it was just going to be like a couple alliances hitting an entire block to make it a fun, fair war, and then it escalated. I mean, we talked about this for a while, so I mean, I feel like this has already been discussed.
Sure.
But I mean, I think that's between whatever agreement that they had with Blackwater. I don't know much about it, I guess, so I don't really have a comment on it.
So that was another piece I actually forgot until you just said that. But that was another piece I heard was that Cataclysm was going for a quote unquote meta shifting war where I think them and Hand of Fate by themselves were going to declare on Mystery Inc.
Correct.
For the aim of establishing smaller wars.
Yep.
As like a thing.
Yeah. Instead of it just people organizing dog piles on one another to change the meta. I mean, we started to try to do that before NPO's last time, as Chaos and Keytog also tried to do that with Surfs Up. So an attempt was made, but it got derailed by NPO's last time. And now we're finally, shifting towards a place where we can do that kind of thing again. And so I think that's what you saw here was us trying to be about it instead of just talking about it, because people complain about this type of thing all the time. But I don't know what, I'm just an old retired feller, so I don't really know much.
Sure.
Maybe Thalmore has more thoughts on it.
Nope, you said what I was thinking in a better way than I could. I can't speak on what was going on between Cindy Sphere and Oasis or Mystery or whoever it was. If Oasis or Mystery are upset about it, there was someone said earlier in chat, post the logs. That makes sense to me if you feel wronged. But instead of he said, she said, what's actually said, then people can judge it. But I think
I feel like the
Hand of
community...
Fate.
Sorry, go ahead.
I think Hand of Fate plus Cataclysm against Mystery would have been really fun, and I'm bummed out that we got cucked out of that.
For some reason, I feel like the community kind of holds sharing logs in a really bad light, unless your name is Partisan. Partisan could jump on there.
Unless you're me.
Huh?
I said, or unless you're me.
Yeah, there's a select few people that can drop logs and nobody cares. But for the most part, I feel like people frown on that. But I agree. I mean, if there's an issue, post the proof, man.
I can kind of clarify a little bit on that. Sorry for my voice, guys. I'm not doing too well, but essentially, Blackwater, when we were trying to de-escalate everything, there was actually no time frame given by Blackwater. Actually, it was basically just said, the sooner the better. To be able to obviously stop their planning and coordination that was already in motion. We said we would have it up in 30 minutes because we were waiting for George. We didn't want to just cut a tie without consulting with him and making sure that we were just being as transparent as we could with everybody and not blindside. And then they held us literally to that 30 minutes time frame. So there was actually and we were under the impression that was a loose time. We didn't had no indication that was going to be like if it's not 30 minutes, we're moving forward. So that should hopefully give a little clarity on that.
I definitely got the
Appreciate you,
sense
Bill.
that people wanted war to happen regardless.
I mean,
So,
it was. I
very
think they
little.
just wanted it. I mean, don't forget that comes after days of ghosting reps from Mink and Oasis and refusing to talk to us.
So speaking of logs, George, didn't you say you had logs? Like in
Yes,
the
but
forums, and kept saying that you
I
had
am
them.
one of the
And then-
people who just won't drop logs, and you know that.
And then
Joe.
Tyrion, and then some other people from Oasis and Mystery Inc. came on and said there were no logs. And then after the show, you kept saying there were logs.
There are.
I
There's still
remember
my
that.
DMs.
Where are these logs at?
Yeah,
My
feel free.
DMs.
So
But I
that
won't log.
that all of
That's
clock
the
was
thing.
gonna hit all of
No.
Mystery Inc.
My log said clock is going to hit. It never said any specific alliances.
Well, where are
So
these
when I
logs?
get that's on your, I don't drop logs, and I never will.
Man,
So
I feel like that's a lame excuse. All right. And let me tell you why. Because I spend my day dropping logs all day long. And all you kids fucking just have piss poor excuses constantly from Oasis. That's all you guys have had this whole time is piss poor excuses not to prove yourselves. It's sort of lame.
that's
George is
cute.
a mystery.
I thought you were about to break into like a freestyle rap for a second.
It did sound like that for a second, didn't it?
dope. It did. I almost dropped a beat in the background.
He's like, "Let me tell you kids something."
Yeah, it would have been sick. Dude, Spanky can spit it too, I bet. I bet you can do
I
it.
can. I can.
So,
Yeah.
regardless of the outcome or good faithedness of de-escalation talks, we ended up with 620 or 760, billion dollars in damages total costs from both sides on that one. Almost everything about a 2-to-1 ratio. Black Clock Water taking the 1, Oasis Incorporated taking the 2. Other than the loot, which was like almost 6-to-1, which was actually pretty impressive. But big war blew up, but we've already beaten that one like a dead horse with like at least 4 radio shows. So I'll move on to the next one where unless you guys have any other thoughts you want to jump on before I move on.
Well, why are we talking about things that happened last year? It's 2022. We live in the current year. The past is the past.
That's true. We gotta forgive and forget sometimes. So we hit December 19th. We see all white pieces, notably no non-aggression packs, which is awesome. Thank you guys for staying in the spirit of the agreement that most of us signed. But otherwise, I mean, just like general white pieces, not a lot of content in the posts. I read through them all really quickly today, and there just wasn't a lot to really talk about. Except for the fact that literally 30 minutes later, Decagon posts a declaration of war on Rose. Like, I don't even know if he had time to log off the forums before he finished typing that and posting it, which is pretty based, pretty funny. I know it annoyed Rose, but I found it kind of amusing. And just to go over the numbers once again, Kata launched 97 offensive wars just on the 19th, like within those probably 10 or less minutes between the posting and day change. Eclipse launched 52 just for comparison, and Rose launched 62 counter-offensive wars again before day change, not counting the next day. Just to make it easy on myself, counting on my fingers, Honestly, I was kind of impressed that Rose got off that many counters, so I feel like they probably knew it was coming, but I didn't really understand the reasoning that Clock pivoted into Rose. Any insight on that one, other than just 1 million score? Kev/Thelm?
I really don't. Also, Big Morph is asking being muted.
I was gonna say, from my understanding, the reason that they hit Rose beyond the 1 million score thing was because they wanted a fun fight and they felt cucked out of it by the Oasis Mystery Inc. thing. And so, in order to not get cucked out of that fight, they figured they'd just hit Rose because it would be the only even match.
Or they can go ahead with what's already been stated, where they were planning on doing that anyway. The intention, from what I was told, was to hit Mystery, Shed in front, and go after Rose.
Which they did.
Yep.
And Rose did fight good, especially those first couple days. That was the first time that I fought a fun conventional war in a long time. Because most of the wars I fought in these past, since the NPO's last time ended, it's either been a complete curb stomp or I'm the one getting curb stomped and I have to fight Gorilla. So to fight conventionally against someone where it's kind of even and like I don't know if I'm going to win or not, that was exciting and very
nice
different.
change of pace, right? Like, when's the last war that was like that anywhere? It hasn't happened in a while.
Years.
Surfs Up.
Years.
Maybe?
Guns N'
Surfs
Roses
Up.
was pretty competitive.
What was?
Guns N' Roses was competitive.
Guns N' Roses
That's
was
a-
pretty close.
It
That's a
was.
good point. Yeah, Guns N' Roses was a good one.
It shouldn't have been, but it was.
Yeah.
So,
Right. It was an attempted dog power. But
1-on-1, but yeah.
well, it was an attempt.
The only reason it wasn't an absolute
It was attempted.
destruction.
Yeah, it was a dog pile. It wasn't a one-on-one.
Well,
We wanted it to be a
we
one-on-one.
attempted a 1v1.
Right.
It was an attempted
Right.
dog pile.
We got lucky that Rose didn't militarize beforehand.
Yeah.
TBH.
Yeah. Yep.
But even still, with the big numbers, and especially in certain tiers, like my tier in that war was very competitive. Like, I got dragged twice and then came back from getting dragged twice. Like 0 down by up declares. So, and they brought me down. Then I managed to get out of it and get back to max and kill people. So,
Yeah,
Yep.
I would say if you look at the Clock's formation and look who joined into Clock, it makes sense as far as how and why these wars are happening. I think it does feed into the whole trying a different kind of way to do war instead of just trying to do the conventional dogpile. Also, the meta revolved around the Syndicate, the TKR, the Rose. Like, that's what the game has been revolved around for such a long time. NPO wasn't there for a while too. It's just those 4 alliances. The entire landscape was revolved around that, and people have complained about that for such a long time. And I feel like this is adding another spoke in the wheel, so to speak. So I think it's kind of neat. Maybe a little biased, but I'd like to think other people might think it's pretty neat too, or at least they will come to think it's pretty neat. And hopefully we can see some fun stuff going forward.
So Decagon just posted a pretty interesting graph showing how close exactly the two sides were, Clock versus Rose. So I heard some I'll be honest, I went on vacation for 7 days during this war. So I wasn't keeping up with it as closely as I kept up with Oasis versus Clock. Did Alpha getting deleted, was that the turning point of the war, or was that kind of just the nail in the coffin, do you guys think?
I think Alpha getting deleted was the nail in the coffin. I think they were already losing before then. Plus, to be clear, when you're fighting a war against an AA full of multis, that one guy, when everything falls on one guy, one guy fucks up, your whole AA is gone. And so, I mean, for real, like, all that dude who was running the alpha multis had to do was just not log in for a day and they would have fucking all lost. So I don't think losing alpha made that much of an impact. Granted, it definitely made one, but I do not.
Because I saw the
believe
test
it.
guys, like Sphinx is here, posting that Alpha was giving them a struggle in like the upper tiers, I guess.
Alpha did make a difference in that fight. I don't think it was. I think what Rose would have lost either way, but it was definitely the nail in the
I
coffin.
would agree with that. Being on Rose side, we were already starting to get pulled under the surface. It just sped it up a lot quicker.
So I mean, was there a sense of turning the war around? I'm just going based off of the peace post where it kind of got the vibe that maybe some people weren't accepting defeat, but I don't know if maybe that was just the like joking nature of the post.
No, I mean, you never know. Like, we weren't sure until the fog started to depart and we had a better vision of what was happening. But by the time Alpha got deleted, I think Clock had a pretty good footing on the war, and we're gonna win no matter what. And I think most people knew that we were gonna lose anyways, and so we very quickly switched to don't worry about beiges and start beiging everyone.
Gotcha. So I mean, I'm just looking at the results here. Something interesting I thought was the war names suck, first of all, but a clock in the water, which was Clock in Blackwater versus Oasis and Mystery Inc., an arguably larger but shorter war, got 760 billion damages in, like, I think it was 7 days, 8 days. Whereas the Rose conflict was dragged out for, I think, about twice as long, but only got up to 509 billion. So that was kind of interesting. I thought Rose would kind of trump the damages that Mystery Inc. took, but I guess not.
This is
Well, and what's going on there is that Clock already had all of our ship blown up going into Rose, and also with Mystery and Oasis, you had Cindy Sphere and their people getting whacked. So there was just less infra to destroy overall when we hit Rose. That's why there's a difference.
I would also agree. Like, one thing to note is just because, like, I just rebuilt, right, and it was, I don't know, like 400 or 500 million to 2,000, and then to go to 2250, which was just an extra 250, it was almost double that. And so just because like a lot of the infra was still there, the really juicy bit was mostly what was gone. And so, but I was still surprised with how much infra was still there when we were going through. Like, when I put up that joke post about the collusion between the two, like, I thought a lot more was gone. Then as like the war kept going on, I noticed there's still a lot of people with infra. So I mean, it wasn't all gone, but there definitely was some really, really expensive infra gone. So
Yeah, no, Vice is actually 100% right. I only lost about 50% of my infra, but I was coming down from 25. Rebuild for me ran about 650 million. So yeah, it was the pricey shit that went.
Yeah. That's why you. That's I mean. That's why you infra shave. You know.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
why you fight that first fight, so you lose the really good bits, and your stats look really good in the war that actually matters.
is everyone going to infra shave on Mr. Swamp? Is that like the standard thing? Is hit Swamp really quick and then go and do your war?
Just send reps our way to help us rebuild.
Should Swamp rename themselves to the Razor?
We'll gladly do that service for you. Yeah, just pull your car around.
Just pull it up, man.
They
Mhm.
are
I mean,
the Razor.
that is part of the problem of no naps, in the sense of you can do that. You can hit somebody, shave, and then they'll sit out, and then you're good to go. I mean, blanket naps are bad, but they do stop something from like that happening, at least. So it's
here's
just
another
part of the new
piece.
reality.
Here's another piece that I thought was kind of interesting and kind of proves a point that we've probably everybody in this chat's been harping on for a long time, but I'll just repeat it anyway. Almost 50 billion of the 170 or 190 billion lost came from R&R, Res Publica Romana, YAR, which I don't even know if they're technically in Rose Sphere anymore, Polaris, and Church of Adam. Underneath Rose, they're the top 4 net negative damage givers to that war. And damages aren't everything. I know that's true. But you got the top, or the 4 out of the top 5 worst performers in the war by net damage are these alliances that realistically, why do you have treaties with them? Like, why are people
So
showing Polaris?
I'm
in their coalition?
hypercritical. I'm hypercritical of Church of Adam and Polaris because they're in the same sphere as me. But
Polaris fought this
relatively speaking, they showed up. Like in general, they showed up and surpassed my expectations. So, is it a one-time thing? Is it a new trend? I don't know, but like they had the highest offensive declares behind Voodoo, both of them over everyone else.
So Voodoo had like 10, and then Polaris had 8.
I was gonna say.
And then
We had like, I think between 5 and 6 or 7 per member average, and then everyone else was either between 2 and 3 or below 2.
So putting Clock to absolute shame real quick, Rose actually had the most damage dealt out of anybody else in the war by a solid few billion. I don't even know how that happens when you've already lost all your infra in a global right before that, but Clock should just feel embarrassed.
I think Eclipse took it last second. On High Dude's graph, Eclipse takes it in like the last day or two. But yes.
Funnily enough, Church of Adam, Voodoo, and Polaris are also in the top 10 for damage dealt. Not net, but just damage dealt. So I guess you're technically right. Church of Adam and Polaris did show up. But I still feel like they're statistically, when people are doing those calculations for who they're going to declare on, sphere versus sphere, and you have them sitting in your coalition, I feel like they're a net negative. So I don't know. I don't know if it's worth it to have relatively inactive people in your coalitions, is what I'm saying. What do you guys think?
It's a hot take. Hot take.
Yeah, super hot take.
a warm take.
Get better allies.
I mean, you guys are calling them out, but if we're looking at stats from everyone involved across all 4 spheres, they were higher up on the list than a lot of other people, especially per member.
Yeah, I mean, they're top 10 damage dealt, so they were showing up for sure.
Who was the
Not
bottom
just this
one?
war though. I'm talking about with the swamp and the war with Blackwater hitting swamp. Like if you look at both of those wars all together, they're higher than a lot of macros.
Who had the worst performance in Clock?
Ooh, before we look at the numbers, let's guess who had the worst performance in Clock.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Veganism.
Iron.
Weavenism had a lot of infra.
Let's not count Iron because let's just not count Iron. Guess somebody
Okay.
else.
I mean, I would probably guess Aurora, maybe.
That'd be my guess. Not seeing the numbers would be Aurora. Would be my guess.
I think you guys would be surprised.
Oh, I'm
Aurora
surprised.
actually did pretty decently net damage,
Ooh,
almost
nice.
10 billion, right behind Terminus Est. They were
Okay,
actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They were number 6 in y'all's coalition
Okay.
in
Out
terms of net damage.
how
Out of
many?
34.
34. Oh, well.
34 alliances.
That's
Oh,
like
like you're talking
that's
about,
like offshores and stuff, though,
banks
right?
and yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it was a full 34, but probably like 20.
Well, who's the worst with the core?
Atlas Technological Cooperative
the
was the
core.
worst in Clock, but they
They're
still
not
had
the core.
positive net.
That's not like a core.
That's
The
a,
core.
that's a
The core's
periphery.
like
Iron,
Aurora,
Iron had
Weed.
positive net, and we're ahead of them.
Iron's
Just
Worst
in the
of
end?
the core is Borealis. No, that's Aurora. Aurora was the worst of the core.
It's
But I still don't
the
think
core
they did
4 is
bad.
Aurora, Weed, Cata, and Eclipse.
Eclipse, Hand of
And you
Fate.
can probably
Weeb
count
had
Hand of Fate, Terminus S.
22.37 billion net, so they blew Aurora out of the water. They actually surpassed Terminus Est, so shout out Sphinx, you're a scrub. Got beat by the Weebs.
Weebs.
Don't underestimate those guys. They're dangerous.
No, I was impressed by Weebinism in Guns N' Roses.
The Weebs have the power of God and
Weavenism is so
power of
aggressive and
God
violent.
and
They started fighting each other after the war ended.
literally.
Yeah, they couldn't get the
What
rage
was
all out.
what? Does anybody have a story on that? Like, what is the deal there?
Something about
Anime.
Subs and dubs. I think
Subs and dubs.
that's
Damn,
what
you're
I
gonna
was.
start a whole fight.
That's what I was told, but I don't.
Obviously, dubs are superior.
I
except
have
for
had
fucking
trouble
Reed.
getting. I've had trouble getting a coherent answer as to what the drama is, which makes me think there might be some very real drama going on. But what I've been told is that there were some government members who just wanted to raid, and they left, and then either they hit Weebinism or Weebinism hit them. But now they've pieced out. So
Well, haven't multiple Milcom people from Clock done that? Left their alliance to raid their own alliance? Because I think didn't Kata's Milcom person do that too?
Oh, Cassia.
Yeah.
Never heard of her.
What? How'd you come up with the name? Oh man.
I mean, that's a good way to get. It's a good way to
Literally
get
in the Balkans as
you
we
know?
speak.
Just
Mhm.
hey, you didn't fight in the war. Let me resign my post to hit you. Fun.
Something else I'm noticing, just kind of glancing over things. Rose is the only alliance in their sphere that's not just like protectorate sized.
Oh, I thought you were just gonna say Rose is the only alliance in their sphere, and then put a period at the end of it. And I was like, yeah.
It's just very odd seeing a sphere with just no.
ASM has shrunk quite a bit.
Yeah, they only have 23 members. I actually just checked before I said that.
Well, they've been doing
that was
like
the only
quality
group that I
control, though.
thought. Yeah.
Yeah, but
'Cause they've
ASM
been-
used to have like 50, so they've been just
Right.
cutting
I
fat.
thought they were in the 50s or 60s, but
and
yeah,
then,
I mean Voodoo's obviously brand new, but like Polaris, R&R,
well, they ate
Baker
Atlas.
Street's again brand new. Church of Adam though. So I don't know. I feel like Rose needs an ally, man. They need a partner,
I think
not
they might
another
find-
protectorate, but like a relatively comparable alliance.
Well,
They
they
could-
just
Maybe Vel
they
needs
just
to
eat
take
all
in
their
TFP.
allies.
they could like find the way, something like that.
I see
I don't know.
what you did there. But why get allies when you can just grow internally?
I mean, grow internally.
Damn,
is
bro, you're
nice.
gonna start a whole nother thing.
I mean, they just want to eat people, So they sign people to eat them. Rest in peace, Atlas.
That's probably
So,
good.
closing thoughts on the war, guys? Any hot takes, spicy thoughts?
I have one hot take, and it's less about the war specifically and more about the conditions around the war. What I will say is I am predicting that Valk will be an underappreciated, underrated leader in the history of the game. I think he did a really good job as the leader of Rose, and people don't really talk about that very much. But if you look at where they're at, he got them there, and he's been doing that for a while. And he was very soft spoken. He didn't make really too many missteps, and I think he did a really good job. That's my hot take from the current political climate.
Hard to make a misstep when you got most of the game secretly treated to you.
I was gonna say that is a hot take, actually. I don't know if I would agree there. Did he
Lights
give
out.
them good growth? Yes.
Yeah, look at the
Was
position
he
that
a
they're in.
good leader? I don't know. I don't know, man. I just
What's your
he didn't-
definition?
He didn't jump out and take any risks. He didn't make waves. I'm a pretty involved person in PNW, and I can probably count the number of times I've spoken to him on one hand. So like, not saying I'm important, but like he wasn't very
So because he doesn't hold your waist.
outgoing, I guess. I don't know.
You don't talk to Roberts. Roberts doesn't like you.
Literally, that's pretty
Well-
much my only measurement. Is if you're in my DMs, I think you're cool. If you're not, you're lame.
But he didn't reach out to you, sure, but look at the size of Rose now. I agree with Kev completely here. I think he probably is one of the better leaders in the game, or the game I've seen. Rose is huge now.
I think he benefited Rose in terms of growth. I will agree with that.
Did George just say he agreed with me?
He did. That's how you know you're wrong.
Okay, I changed my mind. I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
I mean, well, this is only since MPO's last time, right? Rose has only been on the losing end of 2 wars. right? Guns N' Roses and whatever this war's called. I mean, that's pretty good. That's probably the second best tier in that time frame. I mean, Blackwater hasn't. It's only lost once.
Has
Well,
Blackwater lost at all?
yeah. I
Since
mean,
they
Duck
split
Hunt.
from Quack? Since they
No,
split from
since
Quack.
they're from Quack, no, they haven't lost. But like TS as an alliance has only lost one war since NPO's last time.
I don't
And
think
then Rose
Blackwater
has only
like
lost two.
has lost a war in 2 years almost.
Yeah.
But anyways, segueing from Rose into our new Rose, the newest member of Rose, Velny Voss just jumped ship from the Fighting Pacifists, a top, pretty sure still 10 alliance. in the
5.
game.
Okay,
Right?
you're
Jump
upset because
over
you're not
Rose.
talking to people, but you don't know where TFP ranks.
Number 7. I
Oh,
don't
my bad.
memorize stuff. I have all my
Yeah,
tabs
we were
open at all times.
we were 5 pre-war. We're at 7 at the moment. I would imagine that we'll probably be back up to 5 once our score's fully rebuilt.
Is this the AP rankings or like coaches?
Wait, Eric, I thought you were in
It's the coach's fault.
Immortals.
Yes, 100%.
No,
No,
Eric is the
yeah.
new FA head of. He's Velney's took Velney's
Oh,
job.
You got it.
Gotcha,
You got us both
gotcha.
on the gentleman.
Gotcha. Okay, sorry. Tyrion recommended that I reach out to you, so I assumed you were in the Immortals. So, Velny, are you here? Can you unmute yourself?
Yeah, I'm around.
Give
He's
your
busy eating
story,
chicken
bro.
wings.
What's the drama here? Tell it in
Uh,
the most dramatic telling fashion.
it was a long winter night in January, early January. No, yeah, actually no drama. To be told actually, TFB, where they stand currently, as a top 5 alliance, they have an identity about them, a public reputation, if you will, not only within the community, but then also I think within the other blocks, just on a high level within the leaders. And we had a lot of people, previous gov, who tried to institute some things that uh, essentially would change the identity of who TFP was. End up not being well received. They ended up departing, and just essentially saying, bowing out and just saying, we don't want to do this, and change the identity of this alliance. We want them to maintain who they are, and that's community driven, a place where people can come and have fun and just kind of learn the game, but no real competitor, if you will, for no drive to be number one, to perform as number one. Or hold on one second, let me yell at my daughter. Hey, quit.
You tell her to log into her nation.
I wish you would talk.
101.
Number one reason to have kids, get more nations. Just saying.
So yeah, they no drive to really like be number one, be the best performing, and really turn a leaf. I think with an alliance, and not to say that that's a bad thing, because they are they do want to focus on the community, fun events, and really just kind of be that place where people can go and really just enjoy being a part of something. And for me, I really tried to, I think, shed a different light on TFP, change that perception the best that I could. Tyrion and I worked really hard, I think, with Oasis to try to position ourselves, war wise, actually, to kind of see what TFP has. We always kept saying the clock war wasn't the war we wanted with Blackwater and things of that nature, and we had hoped it would have been what Clock and Rose were looking at, something a little more even, to where we could see how do we perform, where do we stack up, how good are we truly, and that wasn't a good war for us by any means, no matter how you look at it. So when you look at that performance and you look at the direction, and you want to strive to do better, and there's going to be push and pull, and at the end of the day, it's just a difference of opinion. It's not something that I could be a part of myself any longer. The identity that I had tried to, maybe transition to, wasn't the identity that others believed it should be, and we just kind of, I just kind of mutually. Agreed to disagree on that, and go somewhere. Harry and I worked together. I came over to TFP with because of Harry and Vice, and so it gives me an opportunity to work alongside him and FA over at Rose, and be a part of something different and maybe get a different chance.
If I may,
Sure.
I'm gonna start off with the not nice thing, and then I'm gonna go into the nice stuff. So, one, you said you wish they had an opportunity to have a war like Rose and Clock, something more fair.
Mhm.
So you decided to sign MDP block to block treaty with Mystery Inc. because there was a chance that Clock, a smaller block than Oasis, would hit Oasis, and that would be a fair fight. And on paper, both milled up. But I don't know. That sounded weird to me, but that's fine. Okay, that was the not nice thing. I just wanted to point out how silly that was.
I can chime in on that, Kev.
Okay.
Lightly, but quit, puppy, stop. When you look at going against Clock, as just Oasis versus Clock, we always said that we really weren't confident, in the upper tiers, and we had hoped to kind of de-escalate it while we were looking. Hold on 1 second again. You go to your room now. Goodbye. A dog is not a trampoline. Anyway.
But they are.
Jesus.
Oh,
parents,
Yeah,
man.
I second that. Dogs can be trampolines.
Dogs cannot be trampolines. Jesus.
We really we were looking at matchups and we were looking at things to the best of our ability. We weren't really looking for a fight at that point. So the MDP, like we've kind of said all along, it really was to hopefully deter it. We didn't expect it to. I was pretty confident. I'll say I'm not going to speak on Tyrion's behalf, but I was very confident that Clock wouldn't go in alone against Oasis and Mystery Inc. And so they would just kind of let that die down and go somewhere else. And then obviously that transpired into the Blackwater, etc. So yeah, it wasn't. That was kind of the backstory of that. What's your next thing?
So you're saying people with high tiers, it's not possible to beat other people with high tiers or something. Do you know someone recently, or I guess semi recently, that did do that?
What
IQ. So people talk about like high tier, how it's impossible to drag people down. It's not.
Right.
Like, I mean, you look at the game almost ended with a war that they're doing the meat grinder method, right? So, I mean, I don't know. It seems a little silly, I guess, but regardless, another thing I was gonna say, the positive thing is, I think you were the last good TFP. No offense to other TFP people, but last good political player for TFP, and I was excited to see what you could do. So it's kind of sad to see you leave. But before you left, you should have merged TFP into the
Immortal. Yeah, that would have been
TKR. What? Sorry.
I know Morph was very sad.
Or Empire of the Romans. You should have merged into one of those.
I mean, that would have worked too.
Thank you. I'm glad I didn't have to say it.
Sphinx. Yeah. I mean, we may have been looking at it. We really. It was just kind of came out of nowhere. We weren't really looking for war. We were just kind of floating out ideas of what we would like the next conflict to come at. So the thing with Clock, it just kind of moved really quick, and bouncing between Mystery and then Oasis and back and forth. So
also, 1 second, I think it's also in somewhat poor faith to talk about how they could drag people down, because the game is pretty against that idea of a long grindy war ever since MPO's last time. Like, the whole game is like, hey, we want really short, fun wars. So just saying, you can totally take us in like a 9-month meat grinder
No,
is
that's not.
kind
But
of
that's
not.
you. I don't think were you around. You might not have been around for
I
NPO
wasn't
last time.
around,
So,
but
all right, I forgive you for that. But they won the war within the first few, within a month and a half. We lost the war in a month and a half. So they
Yeah.
kept grinding it out to end the game to get people to quit. So they were able to accomplish it not over 9 months. They accomplished that pretty dang quick. So that point is kind of moot.
That's
It
fair.
took them
My bad.
maybe 3 or 4 rounds to establish a serious advantage.
To get that meat grinder going.
There was there were several points where we had a chance to flip it and we dropped the ball, but that's okay. It happens. I
But
blame
regardless,
Boyce.
it's not
Boyce
right.
organized our entire coalition, and I blame him for everything.
So, and I guess the
That's
cool
not
thing is
promising.
we're not talking about dog
Okay,
piles right now,
That's fair.
which is
That's
cool.
fair. Sure.
No,
So
I'm
anyway,
saying like
our
we're talking
next
about
top
wars that aren't dog piles.
dog
which is neat.
piles.
Yeah, I just had this. NPO's last time was always referred to this 9-month hell, and I assumed it was actually like 9 months of hell instead of. I mean, it was, but I didn't know the war was like over after like a month.
Oh yeah, we offered to give our surrender like 2 months in. So anyway,
that really was just NPO being dicks. Okay.
So you're only allowed to surrender on the 30th of every month.
George literally starts sweating, realizing Mink is gonna get rolled again once we remember Impult. So yeah, I mean that wraps us up, guys. Other than that, we just really kind of have our speculation phase here.
Speculation's so fun.
Do you guys have any speculation? I feel like there comes a certain point where like maybe Eric, George, and Morph won't really speculate because they're in too high of a position. But I feel like the rest of us can probably come up with some fun stuff.
I can speculate. You just can't take my speculation for OPSEC.
Well, what's your speculation, Morph?
I'll let you go first.
Okay, so obviously Grumpy and Guardian are disbanding and redistributing the whales amongst every alliance equally. Everybody gets one. You get to pick who you want.
big beer hoe.
Space Invaders is going to settle down from being raiders and merge into Empire of the Romans.
Oh, nice.
Can confirm.
Let me see what else. Thalmor is going to become the head of Hand of Fate and reclaim his rightful ruler's title. But I mean, seriously, like, where do you guys think people will land? I think Oasis is kind of given Velny jumping ship and a couple alliances breaking treaties. Kind of feel like Oasis might be on the way out.
Yeah, Oasis is dying. That's a guarantee. I would bet money on this. I'm like that certain that in the next 2 months Oasis will not be here anymore.
Like as a block or as the same
as a block,
Oasis?
As a block. Like, of course, they'll still have alliance. I mean, who knows? I mean, like Oasis is inherently led by the Immortals, so as long as they're there, whatever sphere formates around them are going to be Oasis. Whether or not they keep the name Oasis is a different story, but as Oasis looks at the moment, it is not going to be here.
May I remind you that the powerhouse at Johnson's was created out of the Oasis. That was when they really died.
True. The Johnsons rule over us all as benevolent overlords. We're all lucky they haven't hit us yet.
Here's
They
my
tried to change their names though, so that's
on
really
that on that note of Oasis dying. I wouldn't be shocked if there was some trimming between it, but if Mystery Inc. and some of Oasis ended up getting back together to make trim some fat, get rid of some people, but some of the core alliances in those two spheres getting back together. I think that makes a lot of sense.
Just with an MDO AP this time instead of just an MDP.
My personal hope, this isn't my speculation, I have heard literally nothing about this. My personal hope is that one or two larger groups from some of the less active blocks jump on with Rose, so that Rose has a larger sphere and like an actual like partner alliance in their sphere. So I feel like since Camelot, they just don't have a reliable second, so to speak. They just kind of have a sphere of protectorates and like people that they give treaties to. Don't don't bring back Camelot. But somebody else, like a similar sized power alliance, because every sphere has like two-ish either power alliances or like grouping of power alliances, and then like peripheries. I feel like, except Rose. So to balance that out, I would like to see like a larger group.
Okay, I'm gonna throw this out here too. I think Lucy and Harry and a lot of the Rose crew are basically evaluating what they want to do with Rose, and I think they've done a really good job at trying to include alliances more. In the past, it used to be just Rose, and then there was everyone else. But as someone in there in the sphere, like they're doing a really good job at reaching out to people and asking them their opinions and what do you think here and that. And I think that they're turning over a new leaf. And I feel like with 2 losses here just in the end of this last year, they're starting to tally up their payment for sins, as people maybe want to call it. And so I am pretty happy with the direction that they're taking things so far.
They could have had like
tour?
30 to 40 nations averaging around like city 25 to city 30 had they have done that earlier. I think we never heard from them at all in the street. Never talked to them, never did anything. It was odd. So it's interesting to hear that they're changing their way they do it.
Maybe I just haven't been in the right positions in PNW in like the 1,400 days I've been playing on this nation. But I have never been reached out like proactively by Rose. So I feel like they're insular a little bit. I hope they come out of their shell. Harry's a pretty cool guy. So
That's what I
feel
was
like
just trying to say. And I think Lucy's done a good job to try and enable that to happen.
Harry's my pen pal.
I don't have any specific predictions. I say we'll get 3 globals this year. Alex will update the game some, and something will break, and that'll be just a whole full day of fun. Probably no new blocks. We'll probably have 6 blocks is probably the maximum the game will see. I don't think we'll get a 7th, strong block, but we might lose one. We might go down to 5. And that's about it for my predictions.
I'd expect some shuffling in the next month between
George, what are your thoughts on the future of Mystery, like as a block?
George. There we go. I see great things in the future, and I wish every block good luck.
It's very non-committal.
Very vague. I love it.
Sorry. No, seriously, I see I don't really see much shakeup happening in the near future, or any block fully collapsing for that matter. At least not yet. I think there might be some minor shifts and alliances from here or there, but like I think Thalmor just said, I think 6 blocks is where we're gonna see everything sit. Maybe is that counting whatever the Johnsons is or no?
It's block. Thank you. Block.
Who the fuck is block?
Johnson's renamed
That's what they
themselves.
rebranded to.
Block.
Sorry. Is block considered in that number? Okay.
No, the Johnsons are forever.
Yeah, I don't see much shifting, and I think it will take quite a bit of work for there to be any major political shifts in the near future. I think that is one thing we're going to see a negative from many spheres is minimal shifting.
I definitely feel like once they're established, it becomes a lot like the bipolar world that we used to have, of like 1 or 2 alliances trading in or out every other war. I would like to see hope, my personal hope from mini spheres would be kind of like what Kata was trying to do with like 1 or 2 alliances fighting 1 or 2 or 3 other alliances. Little like more decentralized conflicts of, you know, petty grudges or something that's CB. Yeah, I mean some kind of CB, not just like a you're a million score or you're too big or I'm bored. You know what I mean? Like something that actually sparks interest, I guess, would be
Let's
what
all agree to
Oh.
do Thunderdome.
It's what
Or
I've been pushing
Thunderdome.
for years.
I mean, you know, whatever. Thunderdome is fine.
Get
Can
up,
we-
go do
I'm
your
down
nap
with
thing.
Thunderdome.
Do your
Yes.
nap thing where you go get signatories, Roberts, but do it for Thunderdome.
Yeah, okay, so this has been
Reopen.
something I wanted Johnson's to happen. That finally happened. Now Thunderdome, for the love of God, if every block offers up one like prot or like a satellite alliance, and then you throw them in a mix, and then they have to fight, and then the winner eats the rest of the alliances, and then we can create major
beautiful.
alliances that way.
I mean,
Boom.
what about could we
All right,
do
are you
something
guys
where
ready
like
for this?
each sphere makes like a team? You know, get like 20 of your best fighters in your sphere, put them in like a TJS type Ghost Alliance, and have those guys fight each other.
Okay.
It's relatively cheap.
And then we
rebuild.
take bets on the winners, bro. We'll all make
Yeah.
out like bandits.
Yeah, relatively cheap
Everyone
rebuild.
here,
It would be dope.
okay, and say what you're gonna say is tell your leaders. Hey, I'm turning my Wi-Fi off so I don't get shoddy. Okay, so here's what you're gonna do. Everyone goes back. We get 6 months from now where all spheres will be gone. Okay, so enjoy your friends. In 6 months, we're done. The top 8 alliances by score will become team captains, and we will do a snake style draft starting with number 8 getting the first pick, and they will pick their alliance. Then number 7 will pick their alliance, and we'll run through the whole draft, and then we will choose a date in which war will start, a specific time, okay, and it will be a Clash Royale between 8 spheres that have picked snake draft style.
You know
Why
what?
do I
I
feel like
agree
Vice
with that.
is about
We
to
could
play
have
air horns?
all the way up to the number 64 do it, so that way every team all gets 8 people each, and we just let you pick out of the top 70 alliances.
I love
Or the
it.
top
It's not gonna
64
happen
or whatever.
Like,
I
Fucking
mean,
done.
no, of course it's not going to happen,
I
but it'd be
mean,
great.
It would be great, but yeah, I don't know. I remember when the Lost Empire was willing to do a 1v1 versus God, who was it?
Aurora and the Order were the 2 that they called out.
The Order. Yes, it was the Order, and I was pushing Hollywood so hard to make that happen, and I got shut down. And they both agreed to it. They both agreed to it would happen, but the powers that be shut it down. So the only way to make it happen is just like what Vice is doing here. You got to do it on a radio show. It's got to be super popular, and the leaders have to agree to it, and then they have to be held to
Forgetting that
it.
you were in Hollywood for a little bit.
Well, then that's settled. Let's just get all the leaders on here and we'll
But
peer pressure them into it.
The champion idea is so much easier. Just like
What are we
Just-
agreeing to?
like get 20 people from your sphere
Thunderdome.
and have them fight another 20 from another sphere, even tiering ish, and then that's a relatively cheap rebuild. Or you can have the losing sphere pay for the rebuild of the winners.
Is this how globals are going to happen now?
I don't
Trial
like
by
that.
combat?
Trial by
It'd have to be
combat.
like there'd have to be something like on the line, you know, like not just a rebuild. They have to gain something too. There has to be more meat to it.
How about a rebuild and, we'll just do bets. We'll give them a portion of the bets.
Yeah, that sounds good. Like we can cover it like ESPN, and then there could be like a betting
Yeah.
pool, like who's gonna win, and then they get
Winner-
part of the pot.
Winner
Like there
gets
could be
their
My Fight Club idea got shut down like a year ago.
winner
Well,
gets
Ron
the
can host
pick
it. Ron can
of
provide the fun.
their winner gets a pick of the other sphere's leadership. They get to steal somebody.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
So like you beat Rose, you can steal Harry, and Harry has to go.
That sounds like a hairy situation.
Yeah, it does sound
Ah.
like a hairy situation.
Ha. Ha. Ha.
So it seems like to me the show's winding down. So I
Gotta
want
go,
to
yes.
promote
Sounds to me
a
like
community
it's
event I'm hosting. So Azazel and Epi are prosecuting Church of Adam in the High Court of Thalmoria. I suspect over the relationship between Church of Adam and Alpha, because Church of Adam received money from Alpha, and they were, of course, a multi-farm. It will be on January 16th. Might be delayed again. I made this little image to promote it. It's a very lovely image. The defense team is a guy named Luna and Axlon, and they are complete nobodies. And Axlon's only helping out because George, who's the prosecutor, is paying him $100 million to help out. So that's always a good thing. So come on out for that. It's probably going to be a hellhole, and that's just the way we like it.
Mhm. All right, guys. Well, I think that wraps up the show. Unless anybody else has any closing thoughts.
100 million, I'll defend him.
Thanks for coming out,
500
everybody.
mil, I'll
I
defend him.
appreciate y'all jumping on to talk about your spheres and all that good stuff. All right, Kev, sing us the outro. We'll head out.
Thunderdome. Thunderdome. Thunderdome.
Nice.
Coming to an Orbis near you.
Kills Bob, you can stop recording if